Hi guys, it's Warwick here from BeeWareOnline. Happy World Bee Day, and it's another guest that we're having on with us today to talk about bee research and the bee industry. And with me today is Michael Ukwuru. So welcome, Michael. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Warwick. My name is Dr. Michael Ukwuru. Uh, I'm a lecturer at the
Yeah,
Federal Polytechnic, Ida, Nigeria. And then
excellent.
I've been doing some work on bee for some times now. There are a lot of ongoing researches that we are doing, and then meeting local beekeepers and assisting them.
Ah, brilliant, man. So what I'm interested in finding out is you're busy with research in Nigeria, or is it elsewhere? Where are you guys doing your research, and what kind of research are you busy with at the moment?
Okay, now I'm busy with beekeeping research in trying to manage bees, bee health in particular, and then sustainable beekeeping, because there are a lot of challenges associated with beekeeping. So trying to see how beekeeping can be sustainable, bearing in mind the various climatic regions and various factors that
Mm,
affect beekeeping, and then looking at optimizing the existing practices, optimizing them in order to have a higher yield, because it's all about business, higher yield, and then having bees to respond adequately to adverse factors to be resilient so that can maximize the yield. So bee health is part of what we are looking for too. There's an ongoing research we are doing on bee health so that all the uh, things that cause sicknesses to bees and then begin to affect bees adversely. We're working on this area to see how we can get the kind of bees that will be resilient and resistant to some of these infections.
mm. Okay, so what I mean down in South Africa, right? We've got obviously the Varroa mite. I think that's all over the place at the moment. And we've got the problem of the capensis, calamity of the, as they call it in the research down here, where the capensis has been set free across its natural boundary, and because of that, it's now able to it's hybridizing. It's also causing a major issue as a pest in the Scutellata species subspecies here in South Africa. What would you guys say is the are the big challenges for you guys with your bee health at the moment up there by you guys in Nigeria?
Okay, right here in Nigeria, beekeeping has not been given serious attention. Most of the people who are keeping bees are the locals, and they keep it in a very local manner. So beekeeping as a business is not that given much attention in Nigeria. And then on our part, we are trying to make sure that attention is given to beekeeping through training and creating awareness, just like this day is meant for to create awareness, World Beekeeping Day. So that's the awareness we're creating, and with that awareness, beekeeping is growing, but there are still a lot of challenges because the people who are keeping these bees, they need training needs, they need a lot of materials to keep these bees, and
Yeah.
then there are so many factors affecting their yield. These we are trying to take care of. So as we create more awareness and make a network with organizations in other countries and beekeepers in other countries, I'm sure very soon we'll achieve something greater than this, and fully commercialize bees, and bee business will become what is supposed to be in Nigeria.
Mm. So what are the major crops there, Michael? What are the major crops in Nigeria that the beekeepers are utilizing to harvest honey from and pollinate?
Yeah, there are quite a number of flowers in Nigeria. Some are grown in fields, others grow on their own in the wild, and they are
Uh-huh.
all suitable. They have the available nectar for the bee. One thing we're trying to make the beekeepers understand is that the ecosystem is very important. The flowers that we produce, the nectars, that the bee we need are very, very important, and they need to be within the vicinity of where the bee is being kept. So in the wild, they don't have that problem because they have a lot of flowers to visit. But
Yeah.
As a beekeeper, one should necessarily develop his own ecosystem suitable for the bees so that it will be within the vicinity of the bee farm.
Right, right, right. So with your research in the sustainability practices and optimization, what are you focusing on with that, with your research there? What's working? Where are the challenges?
Yeah, yes. One of the greatest challenges is the presence of Varroa mold, mites, yeah, Varroa moths,
Yeah.
and some fungi infections, and
Oh, yeah.
bacterial and diseases are also part of it. Now, the use of pesticide is also another serious problem. These pesticides are used in farms around, and bee visit these farms. It's not good for
Right.
bee health. And the sustainability area, we are looking at developing the kind of bees and creating the conditions that will keep the mites away, keep moths away, and then keep bacteria away from them, so that naturally the ecosystem within the bee should be resilient to some of these attacks. So that's where we are trying to go with this research.
Right, right. So okay, so that, I mean, that's phenomenal because we're dealing with the varroa mite down here as well. It's also, it's becoming quite an issue for the last number of years. And we found that the bees in the Scutellaata and the Capensis strain or species is resilient with them, but they still decline over time, because they're so hygienic. They can be quite aggressive and quite assertive with their hygiene down here, those particular subspecies, that they do regular cleaning, like a lot of cleaning. So they do tend to keep the varroa mite a little bit under management themselves, but it still ends up being a slow decline over time. And then you can lose the colony without treatment and things like that. So what species are you working with up there? And how are you finding their ability for hygiene? Is there any, have you found any correlation with the how hygienic your subspecies may be, and the lower the rate of decline perhaps in their impact?
Okay, now there are quite many species of bees here. We are trying to see how we can optimize a particular species, not minding the common species that is being used. This is research. We're trying to work on different species and to see species reaction to some of these adverse factors, and to also see the nature of yield. So we are considering various species in our research. And whatever we come out with, and we'll be able to say, okay, this is a better species to use because it's resilient to adverse conditions and the yield is high. I'm just hoping that we can come up with this. Now, training is also very important for the beekeepers because as they go into this beekeeping, though beekeeping is also more of experience, so they combine the training with their experiences, and that will help them for the hygienic condition that is needed in the beehive. So that is one area. And then we are also, I've talked about optimization, but of all these, after all this, you need to market your products. So that's also another area, getting the market, because once you are successful in the bee production, then you have to go into marketing that eventually brings you the money you deserve. So getting the market, and then proper labeling that will be in line, labeling of where you are going to package, and then getting the actual market, the real market that will move the business forward. We are into all this so that the entire bee research will be encompassing, not leaving anything. So area of training, we are really focusing on it. I have developed some training modules so that we'll be able to help beekeepers with regular training.
Yeah, that's phenomenal, man. That's really great. So how many beekeepers are you involved with, and what's the sort of scale at the moment with this research and your project?
Yeah, like I told you earlier, the attention for beekeeping in Nigeria is not much yet.
Small.
More or less, it's done in a very local manner. I can tell you that they go to get bees produce honey naturally on trees on their own without anybody having to go there. And then they discover them and they target them, and in the night, they go there to, create some kind of smoke, using any form of smoker to weaken their defense system. And then in that way, they are able to harvest these bees. Many of them are like that. So they are not looking into it as a business. Most of the honey we get is in that way. In northern part of the country, there are people who locally do bee farming in a very local way. They go into the bush and then create a local form of beehive, and bee come to settle, and like that, they get their own bee. So with that, these are the group of people who are trying to put interest on and to tell them that this can be better done than this. And I'm getting a few people around, and I think very soon our voice will be heard.
Ah, that's great. And whatever we can do is be ambassadors, it helps everybody wherever they are doing beekeeping,
Exactly.
And World Bee Day brings us kind of all together out of the the forest and out of the bush and whatever the case is. We come together and we're all buzzing about bees, and we talk about it. We share our ideas, we share our training, our goals, our challenges, all these type of things. So it's really valuable, and that's what one of the reasons why we're doing these these interviews today, because it's really great. I'm talking to a variety of people, teachers, you're a professor, you're a doctor. We're going to have some hobbyists on later on today as well, and then some people that are doing full-time bee removals. And I think the story from doing bees, where even for me, when I started almost 20 years ago, it was a lot of stuff to learn. I had a massive learning curve, and because most people, I think you might agree with me, most people are like, yeah, they sting us and they make honey and they pollinate the flowers,
Yes.
But it really could be like, that's just kind of like the kindergarten version of what we all know about what happens with bees, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the scale and the scope of what can go into beekeeping is like PhD level, and it's like really you can go to that point if you wanted to, and possibly even beyond, because there's so much to learn. You become a botanist, you become a carpenter. There's all these things, a doctor or nurse. Or
yes,
whatever,
yes.
But and then you got to do, and that's before you even got any honey to work with, and then you got to work out, like you mentioned, and a challenge is also, where do you market your honey? How do you package it? How do you label it? How do you even harvest it? Because there's a variety of ways of harvesting. So are you, with the beekeepers you working with, are you, from what I'm hearing, you harvest in comb. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So what's your process once you've got the comb? What happens after that?
Yeah, there's a way of filtering it so that you get the comb debris out of it, you filter it. And then over here in Nigeria, there are people who are buying honey from this set of people and going to refilter it and package it in small packs. They are doing that, but not elaborately. But
Mm.
these people who go to the bush to get this honey, they sell it directly. They just pour it. Some even pour it along with the debris. I have one here along with debris.
Yeah.
Maybe so along with the debris, we are the one filtering it. Bought it like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but there is another challenge in Nigeria: production of fake honey. That's another big challenge in Nigeria. So there is reproduction of fake honey. They use various means to do it. They can caramelize sugar, oil it, and thicken it and package it as honey, and is
Yeah.
sold to unsuspecting people. This thing has not really captured the attention of regulatory authorities. So the legal framework is something, but I want to build the awareness to a level and then approach the government over the legal framework of honey.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got the same challenge actually. And the problem is that, you know, South Africa's got quite an established beekeeping industry. You know, it's been going for at least 60 years, probably even more. With you know, with commercial beekeepers back then already starting in the 50s full time, 50s, 60s, but it was still small scale, you know. And but since then we've done a lot of work in the industry down here, and I mean that number's grown. I mean, that, you know, you go on record, I think we've got about 2,000 beekeepers, but I think there's probably a lot more.
Yeah.
But the challenge for the industry really, and for all of these beekeepers, is actually explaining to people that there is fake honey. And we had a show, a TV show, an investigative journalism team called Carte Blanche, which airs on a Sunday evening here on a weekly basis, and they investigated the fake honey situation here in South Africa, and it's rife here as well. It's all over the world. I think it's become a massive business. You know, Netflix as well has got their it's a food series, or it's a series, a mini documentary series which runs on the show called Rotten, and I think the very first episode is actually on honey, on fake honey business, and how it all works, and what's going on in the background. You know, with a lot of the honey is being bottled as sort of you know, it gets shipped to another country, then it gets repackaged as as honey and from that local origin, and then it gets exported to a third country, you know, as if it's from. So it's quite complex, and people don't realize, you know, when they go to the shelves, it's undercutting the value of the local producers. The stuff doesn't crystallize much because it's been pasteurized anyway. It's been irradiated, which also has some implications, and it forces downward pressure on the local producers, and also for them to be able to find a market, because the retailers, they don't know either. They're not interested. They think, you know, if you tell them that it's real honey, they're going to say, okay, it's real honey, great. There's no authority down here either who's managing that on the retailers behalf, you know, or wholesalers behalf. So I would say a fair amount of stuff on the shelves in South Africa is also probably fake honey too. But the problem is that it's like undercutting the price. So if I go to the retailer and say, well, my honey's this price and it's locally produced, they're going to say, yeah, but we can get it for that price over there. And you're like, yeah, but that's probably not the real thing. And it's, you know, what are you doing? You're promoting and marketing and selling something that's actually fraudulent, you know, and but they turn a blind eye. They seem to turn a blind eye. Are you finding the same thing up there?
Yes, we're finding the same thing up here. The fact again is that many people cannot distinguish between fake honey and real honey. Sometimes last year, I had to get my student to do some work on the fake honey and real honey. And there were a series of tests the student used to try to identify fake honey and real honey. That paper is there. I have not even published it. So this is a problem in Nigeria. And that is why I'm suggesting too that if I can get Nigerians to become interested in this. We go ahead, we form an association. It's easier to talk as a group than to talk as an individual. So we form as an association that will be legally registered with government, and then we can have a voice. And from there, we can start push government to do the legal framework, and then educational campaigns about the dangers of fake honey. In that way, they will gradually get rid of this fake honey in the markets. And pharmaceuticals are also using honey. In fact, they are a stronger market compared to individuals that consume honey at home. Most of the honey end up in pharmaceutical industries because they need them as components of some of their pharmaceutical preparations.
Yeah, no, I many about a decade ago, I was looking into research around medical grade surgical wound treatment with honey, actually, on that note. And it's become a niche little market, which is, you know, quite substantial. And so what you're telling me makes a lot of sense, actually. I didn't know it was that large, though. And it probably gets used in, as you say, many more different products than maybe we don't even realize, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Like a lot of marinades, you know, marinades and things like sauces and things like that. Honey's in there.
Yes, yes.
But is it the fake one or is it the real one? You know, this is the question. So it's a bit of a challenge, but yeah, I mean, that is a thing that is going to it is becoming a massive issue, because there's also the synthesized honey now that's come out of Israel. I don't know if you've seen.
Yeah. I have.
News.
Yes.
And so not only are we now going to have to contend with fake honey, that's been around for many years, but we're also going to have to contend with honey that's synthesized, and introducing and educating the consumer about that. You know, it's not from a flower, it's not from nectar.
It's not from nectar.
So what now? You know.
We really have to cope with all this. But again, in South Africa, you've done a lot. I think you have a strong association for honey. I mean, beekeepers. I think the best thing is to have a body that unifies all the associations in various countries, so that in that way, there will be a kind of synergy from one country to another, in which case it can get a global attention on what is wrong about honey. Even right now, we are losing bees. There is kind of a reduction in bees. Yeah. And how to conserve the ecosystem and make it very friendly, because people have their environment not thinking about bees. Nobody really thinks about them, but they like the honey. So, so that awareness is needed, that we need a certain ecosystem to promote the development of bees where we can get honey.
Yeah.
If bees collapse from this world, it's going to affect life seriously.
Oh yeah, no, it is a massive challenge if bees. I mean, look, honeybees only form part. I think there's only like 47 producing honeybees, but there's 20,000 plus subspecies of bees that just do a lot of work for the planet.
Yes.
And they don't get recognized for that much, other than other than lately now on a day like this, you know. I think World Bee Day has been a fantastic vehicle, you know, for being a bee ambassador, beekeeping ambassadors, but also pollinator ambassador, really. I think it highlights a lot of work that not just bees do, but pollinators in general, you know, because they're declining too. All the butterflies, the insects, a lot of those are all actually disappearing. Mostly down to, I think, traffic, urbanization, that kind of thing. And night lights is another problem, and pesticides. Big issue, as you
Yeah.
said, as you said
Yes.
earlier on. The pesticides is
Yeah.
a major issue. Yeah. So in
One thing we are looking at is a genetic modification of the bees that will be resilient. But
really, okay.
yeah, but another thing is the sustainability of the genetically modified bee so that there can be continuity. Because if we succeed in genetically modifying the bee, and there is no sustainability, we are back to square one. So all these have to be taken into consideration. And then the synthetic honey coming from South Africa is also a threat to the business of honey
Yeah.
and beekeeping.
Yeah, but sorry, that was actually from Israel. But yeah, I mean, it is a problem. It's a problem because the Israelis are exceptionally innovative and
Yeah,
creative, and their funding schemes are. I don't think I've seen currently in the bee industry. I don't think there's anybody that's actually competitive on their scale. The amount of industry that the bee technology that's coming out of Israel, aside from just the synthetic honey, there's a bunch of other technology that is in my previous videos and that are coming up videos as well in my 30-day challenge series. It's just phenomenal. So it's going to be a tough one to keep tabs on and to kind of manage, I think. And also, in addition to that, it's going to be tougher for people producing actual honey out of nectar. You know, you've got the fake honey, you've got the pesticides, you've got now synthetic honey. And you've got GMO. You mentioned GMOs. You've got the genetically modified crops that are coming out as well.
Yes, yes.
You know, they're also, some of those are detrimental potentially to the health and development of bees too. I've just done a recent post on video on that too, where some of the genetically modified crops do affect bee health, over time. But it's a challenge. But listen, in closing, because we've got loads of these happening today, and it's been fantastic talking to you, Dr. Ukwuru. Thanks for your time, Michael. And I would like to just put you on the spot for an interesting story or an anecdote or an event that's happened that you can tell us in closing. Put you on the spot. What's your best story that you can tell us lately that's happened?
Okay. Once upon a time, I was a small child and I went with the elderly ones into the bush. I had no idea. I was curious to go and know the process by which and it was in the night. So we all went together. They had some dry woods, stuff that they could lit to bring up smoke. And then they went and did it. And I was assured that if that happens, the bees will be so weak. But behold, I was stung by one and I cried.
Yeah, man.
So
I know that.
That was an experience, and I felt it was bitter going to do that, but the honey itself quite sweet. So two things are involved here now. You have to do the bitter part in order to get the sweet part.
This is it.
Became a lesson.
Yes, man, it's a life lesson, right? That's the other thing that happens when you get involved with beekeeping. You become a bit of a philosopher, hey?
Yes.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for sharing that. That's phenomenal. So how you were a young child, how old? Under 10 maybe? Or older?
That time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was less than 10.
Less than 10, eh? There we go, guys. There we go. You start them young, Great. I love it. My son was about 10, 11 when I first started with teaching him. Yeah. So, it's great to hear, man. But he had a suit. He was cheating, He didn't have it like you. But no, it's all good. I think it's a rite of passage in a way, for a child. I think it should be something. It's like teaching them about where does eggs come from, where does chicken come from, what happens.
Exactly.
Because a lot of kids these days are like, it comes from the supermarket. They're like, no.
Yeah.
Nah, thank you very much again, Michael, and let's be in touch, man. And
Thank you very much.
all the best with your ongoing research. I look forward to hearing, what results you guys come out with. I'm happy to share what you'd like to share when you have, results and findings.
Okay.
I've got a large social media, so if you'd like us to share that out with the people, our readers and our newsletters and all that sort of thing, please let me know, and I'm happy to help with that as well. All right.
I'll be happy to get that. It's an ongoing contact and networking.
Yeah.
I'll be
Great.
happy to get all that.
Thanks, Michael. All right, man. Take care and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Okay.
Thank you too.
All right. Ciao, Michael. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.